Graham and a few other panelists have just been inside, and they've done a excuse me a a panel on hiring versus outsourcing. So we'll get to that in a minute.
Yep.
First, can you tell me a bit about Kusaga Athletic and what Kusaga does?
Absolutely. So we started about 3 years ago. My entry point was I was doing a bunch of marathons and triathlons, and after I finished every one of those races, they gave me a free T-shirt. What I discovered was I had this pile of T-shirts after a few years of events. They didn't fit properly. They were poorly made, and after you wore them a few times, they stunk. It didn't make any sense to me. So I did a bit more sort of research to find out sort of why. Spoke to a few mates, and everybody else was had the same sort of opinion. So I had no idea what my clothes were made of. So I went to the great resource centre we have, Google, and typed in polyester, cotton, spandex, which is pretty much my wardrobe and most other people's. What I discovered really shocked me. The textile industry is the second largest polluter on the planet, behind the coal industry, which is unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that we as individuals all play a part in. Then I discovered that an average cotton T-shirt uses 3,000 litres of water and any number of pesticides, which doesn't make sense. It's stuff we put on ourselves and our family. And so I thought somebody has to do something about this. So armed with absolutely no knowledge of the textile industry and a pretty poor sense of fashion, I embarked on understanding what the possibilities would be there from a fibre point of view, and whether we could actually create our own fabric. So that was 3 years ago. We've to date created 4 new fabrics. We've created the greenest T-shirt on the planet, which uses less than 1% of the water of a cotton T-shirt, so less than 30 litres, with no pesticides. And we've just recently released a range of sportswear and activewear.
Wow. Okay, 3,000 litres of water.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
And the pesticides, yeah, not keen on the pesticides at all.
Absolutely. When you think most people own probably 10 items of cotton, that's a small swimming pool. It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. So when you're talking about the ranges that you had there, is there different blends, or
Yeah.
what makes up each of those ranges?
Yeah, so we looked at replacing, we kind of used cotton as a great example because it's around. So basically most fabrics are either cotton or polyester. I think it's about 60% polyester around the world and 40% cotton, something like that. So we took those both on. So what we want to do is work out whether we could find similar plant materials that would work as in fabric. And so we found about, developed 12 different fibres, and then kind of basically took them into laboratory and into factories and tried to make that into fabric. And so we've created enough fabric to replace cotton in a couple of different ways, and we've created a degradable polyester. So often polyesters end up on landfill and don't break down. So it's really exciting, but also it works really well from a performance point of view.
So the fibres that you've created, or the materials that you've created, are they more sustainable? Like if they're replacing cotton, so for example, are they hemp, bamboo, any of these types of? Yeah.
No, we don't. We use I think 5% of bamboo in our fabrics. So we use anything from a range of waste wood to corn in various stages, some eucalypt, and a couple other cellulose materials that we've developed up.
Cool. And is much of it sourced from Australia, or is it internationally sourced?
Yeah. So currently we source all our materials are sustainably grown, and we source them from all over the world. And at the stage, most of our manufacturing is done in Asia because at that stage, not knowing whether we could actually achieve what we were trying to do, we just need to go where manufacturing was, and most manufacturing is in Asia. Since then, we've managed to pull down our supply chain to make it much more sustainable. I mean, we offset all our transportation costs anyway. So I think we offset 2.3 tonne of greenhouse gases last year. We funded a whole bunch of projects around the world, which is very exciting. I'm looking to bring it to Australia to do our manufacturing here, but it's step by step.
Okay, very good. So I guess that brings us into the topic that we discussed inside, and that around hiring versus outsourcing. And I take it being a international sort of manufacturer, contract manufacturing, or is it your own factory in?
No, all contract.
Yeah. Then you are of probably more tuned to the outsourcing model.
Yeah.
Would that be right in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I like to think of it as relationships or partnerships. So in my previous business, I had 50 full-time staff. It's a very different business. Currently we either outsource or automate, and we have a very small team that sort of full time, and we're at the moment based out of Australia, but everyone else is contracted all over the world, and we work on projects together. And what's really important for us is to get those people to buy into what we're trying to do, and that allows us to really get the key people on. Work to really strict deadlines, because it's in both of our interests to achieve that. Also, from a startup point of view, you haven't got the ongoing costs of paying stuff. So you kind of you sit down and do your financial plan. You go, okay, to this project, it's got to cost this amount of money, and you work through that project, and then you offset with it, knowing that you're going to get revenue in the end. But also, at this present time, technology is amazing. So you can actually do it. I couldn't have done what I'm doing now when I had my old business, but this business is the ability to automate. Sales processes, operational processes are amazing. Communication is super easy, and also there is a mobile workforce globally that you can access at different times, depending on what project you're working on.
Absolutely, and I hear that the digital nomad revolution is upon us, and that there's amazing stats, which I can't actually recall right now, to say that the global workforce is going to be contract based, and majority contract based, and digital nomad based.
Well, I haven't had an office. We've never had an office, and my business partner and I started this, and we've never actually been in the same country. And so technology's allowed us to do that. And when I'm manufacturing, I'm in Asia. So I'm either on location manufacturing, I'm in a hotel, or I'm in an airport. I think being here at the hot desk is probably the longest I've actually been anywhere. And then when I'm back in my hometown, I work with a company that takes over cafes or bars during the day when they're not being used. So I just hot desk out of there.
Great. So just on the technology side of things, I think we alluded to some tools inside. So it's probably safe to say you've got a laptop and you're connected to the internet. So does that mean you're using a cloud documents kind of solution, even though cloud's probably a term we don't use anymore? What are those sort of few of those tools that you are using?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I live in the cloud. Everything's in the cloud. I have a laptop, a mobile phone, and an iPad. So laptop when I'm in the office, iPad when I'm on a plane, and the phone when I'm constantly connected, and they all talk to each other. So if I work on a document on a plane, as soon as I get to some sort of internet connection, all that document is spread across everything. Everything lives in the cloud, so the contractors, I work off Google Drive. We have a paid account, so it gives us some more security and a bit more flexibility. So I just create a folder, and then we just access out of that. If anybody needs anything from us, so whether they're clients or suppliers, there'll be a drive that they can access at any time. So you don't have to send you an email; they just go and grab it. So it's about limiting the amount of touch points you have to do in a process, and allowing people to kind of interact and encourage them to interact in your business. I'm a big fan of software, and I've had to wean myself off the software. And the next shiny thing. So literally gone back to Google Drive, working off that, create a project, give the team access to that, and then so if I need to think about that project, all the information's in there. I've got a very large email inbox that is completely unread, because I subscribe to a lot of things because I find that you might want to reference back to that. But from a day-to-day point of view, I answer what's immediate, and then the rest just kind of fills up in my inbox.
So what do you use for comms mainly?
We've been using Slack a lot, actually. Slack's been good. That's something I've recently come across. I'm a bit old-fashioned. Pick up the phone. Yeah. Emails are impersonal, take time. I don't have time to do it. I'd rather have a 2-minute conversation than spend 10 minutes writing an email.
I'm a fan of the phone too, because there seems to be only so much time in the day where you can actually make phone calls.
Yeah.
And then you actually get to switch off.
That's
also, your voice only lasts so long.
Also, yeah, actually, I do I dictate a lot of stuff. So whether that's a dictate direct to a person, or I dictate into Google Keep's a great document, because it can turn it straight into a Google Doc. I find that so I can get things out of my head straight away.
What was that one? Google Keep.
Google Keep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that one. Cool.
Yeah, it's great. So I think it's about, as you're trying to scale the business, and certainly a startup as it's growing, you get more and more things going on. You need to try and limit the inbounds at you and try and get your work out as quick as possible, so then you can move on to the next project.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's all we've got time for. Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Graham. How can people follow what's happening at Kusaga?
Absolutely. You can find us online at kusagaathleti.com. and go to the socials. If you look up Kusaga Athletic, you'll find them. And then I'm also on the socials, so Graham, Graham, ROSS. You can find me across those things. Otherwise, if you've got my number, give me a call.
Great. And now, one last thing. If there's anything that you could ask from the world that's watching out there, what would it be?
Absolutely. I think I didn't start this business to sell T-shirts. I started to make a difference. We as consumers of clothing have got a great opportunity to make a sustainable choice in our clothing, but also to demand from those people manufacturing our products that they make something that has a low impact on our planet. I don't believe consumers should be allowed to consume. You should be able to go and buy a shirt and not have to worry about whether it's harming the planet. So I would like to say to everybody out there is to look for those companies who are providing, making things ethically, but also sustainably, and have a real policy where they give back to society. And the more those companies get the support, then that's going to filter through into the bigger organisations, and we won't have to worry about this thing called climate change.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a great message. And keep watching. We've got heaps more messages coming to you live from Fishburners at the Capitol for Hot Desk and Advanced Queensland's panels coming to you soon on facebook.com/Beach City Life, or you can search for us on YouTube. Just search for Beach City. Cheers.